a second. Alright. Let's get this set up here. It's the OTR show. Bjorn Erickson, aka Intern. How you doing? And you might hear a little noise in the background. Somebody's on the phone. And I'm still waiting for some stuff to upload. So I did the right exact thing. That is to say, I found something that would load up relatively quickly and allow time for the other shows that I'm going to play to upload. It's all Gene Shepard tonight, so 1957 Hurling Invective. And here we go.
WOR, looking at it realistically, has realized that we must, nay, indeed, all of us, you must have an outlet. You must be able to, from time to time, tell them what it's all about. Give it to them. Don't stand still for nobody. Once again, the science of electronics brings deeper and richer meaning to your lives. Put your radio on the windowsill. In an unprecedented act of goodwill towards its listenership, realization of its deep responsibilities as a purveyor of public good, WOR makes this service available to you exclusively. This is the only station where you'll find an outlet for your aggressions. You'll find expressions for your repressions. Put your radio on the windowsill now. Do it now. Now. With the loudspeaker pointed out towards the neighborhood. You know that crowd out there. You know that gang. Of course you do. Put it out there. That's it. And I'll give you a cue. And the WOR Public Service Department stands behind you. It's okay. Nobody will be able to trace it to you. We have a special, non-traceable voice which we use on this particular invective. It's all right. It will not sound like any living being. Any resemblance to anyone alive at this time is purely coincidental. And does not, of course, include you, since you are obviously not coincidental. Now, the result of forces beyond all comprehension. Millions of tiny forces have led you to this point. Coincidences here and there, yes, but they've all fallen into a pattern, and here you are now. So you're off the hook. This voice will carry your sentiments, your repressions, your aggressions into the darkness out there, that void where they're lying in wait. Those sharks are waiting. Your friends, yeah, your friends. They're your friends, all right. They're your friends. Anytime you really need them, you know what's going to happen, of course. All right. Get your radio out on the windowsill and point it outwards, and I'll give you the cue. And when I give you the cue, turn that radio up as loudly as it'll go. We're going to use a very special kind of invective tonight. This is known as the disquieting with a touch of morbid curiosity type, which is type 23A and a very difficult type to use. You can drop out now if you feel it's a little too strong. It's the... All right, all ready? Okay. Radio on windowsill now. Turn it up. Okay, turn it all the way up. Turn it up. Lights out, for heaven's sakes, turn your lights out. Turn the radio up now. Turn it up. Pretend that you're looking at television. Pretend you're asleep. Okay? Myrtle! This is the third time you've come home drunk again! What about the kids? What about the kids, I ask you? How long is this going to go on? How long? Okay, get that radio back in now, fast. This is the Martin Block program. It's time for Make-Believe Pool Room, friends and neighbors. Time to pick up your cues. Time to step over the table and knock off a game of Make-Believe Snooker. And now on table 7, we see Greasy Thumb Goosick. racking them up. And over on the, yes, it's Tiger Eye Smithers was lining up.
Yeah, what's... Hey, Brony. Yeah, Brown was the original source tape that it came from. That's just the way it is. Of course, I could always go and get the MP3 and re-record it and boost up the volume, I guess. Always a chance to do that. Well, for the next... Whoa, I've got one here that's 84 minutes. Not this one, but this one's 40... This one's 43 minutes and 34 seconds. I'm going to play. But then there's one that's 84 minutes and 11 seconds. So, anyway, I'm going to play the one from 4th of September 1961. Has no title. But I'll just title it Gene Shepard. But anyway. Only thing you can title at this point. That's just... They just put the date on here and didn't... And anyway, you can try to title one of his shows, but it might not really fit, So anyway, 4th of September, 1961. Here we go.
I feel like tonight a good clarion call. Not necessarily to duty, of course. Oh, by the way, that's a good word for you. That is tonight's magic key word, clarion. Look it up. It's spelled with an A. Clarion. Clarion, carrion, clarion. Come on, bring it up here, boy. Don't give him a chance. That's the mystery word. If we mention it again tonight, it's good for $50,000. Are you still bugged? I mean, still. Did you read about in the paper, of course, the big things that are really significant, they're hardly ever really reported. It's always been the problem. Did you read in the paper about this company over in Jersey that is in trouble with employees? In fact, it looks like there's going to be a giant strike because the company is trying to write into the contract that the employees have to observe a work break at least twice a day of no more than 17 minutes duration. It's a fact. I'm not kidding you. They insist that from now on, because things aren't so good in the business anymore, there's all kinds of competition and stuff, that the employees have to take a work break. And they went on, and the company went on and listed things that they did. For example, coffee breaks, rest period, lunch period, ticket selling, vacation planning, collections for people who have gotten married, people who have gotten divorced, people who have died, people who are about to die, people who are just feeling like taking up a collection, people who are selling Christmas seals in August, all this stuff. And it's this is the facts. So they came along and they measured the amount of time that's spent in this company by the average employee every day, either talking to people about those things, fending off people, or going out themselves to collect, and they realized that now work is the exception in the company and is highly resented by the employees, by the way. And so they want to get it right down in black and white that the employees are required to have 2 work breaks a day. Required. And you know what's happening? The employees are really up in arms and they're really bristling now. And it's sweeping all over. Jimmy Hoffa's been on the phone for 3 hours about this thing. and I just thought, who's bugging you? I mean, like the other day, I'm looking through the silly section of the New York Times, which can, on any given day, be almost any section. But on Sunday, it's usually that page, in the back where they sell the hip boots, the giant-size hip boots, and the telescopes that will enable you to see Mars, all this wild stuff. Surplus. It's always called surplus. And I don't know where the Army got all those balloons shaped like Mickey Mouse and that they're always selling as surplus. I mean, surplus from what? You know, the idea of surplus used to be that the Army ran, you know, they ran out of war and they were left with, like, say, 18 million rounds of 105 ammunition, something like that. Well, then that's surplus, you know. You don't have anybody to shoot at. The stuff is going bad. You got to get rid of it. You know, to lay in the fresh stocks. So that's what surplus was. Now, all of a sudden, all these Mickey Mouse balloons and stuff are popping up, and I can't remember many of those I saw. Oh, there were a few. But I don't see how they could have much surplus because they were hard to get your hands on. I mean, especially back in the real days of the war. I mean, for example, they had 5,000 surplus beach balls listed 2 weeks ago in the Times. Now, I'll tell you this, that it is true. During the war, they did have a lot of beach balls around. And it is true. But, you know, towards the end, it was very difficult to get them, especially in the Signal Corps. I don't know how they had wound up with a whole warehouse full of the darn things. You know, it's a funny thing. So right there in the middle of the silly page is a note. All it says is, "Who are you?" Well, it stopped me in my tracks. I've been trying to figure that one out for centuries, you know. You know, it's funny how I wonder how people, it must be great to be able to wander right through life and never ask these questions. You say, "Who are you?" "I am Charles M. Smithers." Oh, now, come on. Now, there's more to it than that, just Charles M. Smithers. You mean to tell me if your name was gone, you wouldn't be anything? Well, I'm Charles M. Smithers, I am, and I live in Englewood, New Jersey. Oh, is that right? You know, a lot of people think they'll still be Americans when they're dead. You know? It's a funny thing, but it's true. You know, it's true. All nationality disappears immediately. You'd be surprised. and you're not an American before you're born, either. You're only one briefly. And even that is a doubtful thing from time to time because nobody really quite knows what an American is, although guys set themselves up every 5 minutes as experts on the subject. They generally define an American as what they are, which is the easy way to define it, you see, and the safest way, too, because you wouldn't want to define yourself out of business, which has happened to some tyrants in the past, you know. Somebody, there's the truth, you know. One day the guy puts up the thing on the door, you know. He posts the rules on who's an American today, and somebody looks and they discover the third rule that the guy that put the rules out didn't really fit that one himself. And the next thing you know, oh, it's a mess. Then you got new rules and the whole business. Are you an American? I mean, seriously, I can sing the Jack Armstrong song. Does that qualify me? Yes, I suppose. I've eaten my share of Wheaties. I have. I've read my share of ads. And I've done all of it. I mean, really, it's an interesting thing about that, because there was a big discussion in Congress the other day. Two guys got up, two congressmen, and they argued it out in the congressional record about who was an American. And, of course, they were both implying that the other wasn't, in spite of the fact that he was the honored gentleman from Pittsburgh or Utah or wherever it was from, you know. The implication was that he wasn't really an American. You know what really an American is, don't you? Oh, an American is whoever's in your party. That's who's an American. Whoever believes like you do. That's what a real American is. I mean, if you're. By the way, it's fascinating to me that most of the conservatives today that they call conservatives are anything but. They're radicals. As a matter of fact, they propose to tear up everything that's been written down since the Magna Carta. As a matter of fact, some of them are even against the Magna Carta, which is, by the way, quite radical, actually. And yet they call themselves conservatives. And on the other hand, most liberals are anything but. They're very, very, very irritated about people who do not think right. I mean, they're very, very non-right thinking people. Oh yes, that is a very strong. Of course, that's true of anybody. Who thinks right? Well, us. I mean, who thinks right is the way I think. That's all there is to that. I mean, that's easy to decide. There's no problem with that one. I mean, that's the easiest one to put down. So the fist fight goes on, and I'd like to know, is there one American out there who really knows he's an American? I mean, absolutely, without question, he knows. Now, don't come along and tell me you're an American because you were born in Chicago. I was, too. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, obviously, I've been all kinds. Have you wondered whether or not they have a file on you someplace, somebody, with all kinds of little footnotes and conclusions about you, you know? Well, anyway, I'm reading this silly section of the Times, and it says, who are you? And I read a little bit further on. It says, now you can get, there's an American out there? Well, first of all, ask him for his credentials. I am not going to talk to any phonies because we're liable to get involved with all kinds of bad stuff, and I don't want to do that. I want to make sure. I want to make sure that that he's right, you know.